one foot in front of the other. She was born on a Tuesday, when the rain was falling so hard that the river had swallowed the footbridge. Her mother named her Ashino, born at night, even though she came at noon. It was the first lie of her life. The midwife placed her in her mother's arms, and her mother looked at her, really looked, and something in her eyes went cold. "She has his eyes," her mother whispered, "his exact eyes." Her father stood in the corner, shifting his weight. He had been caught with the neighbor's wife the month before. Everyone knew. Everyone whispered. The baby had come too early, they said, but not early enough. Her mother never held her again. The midwife took her, bathed her, wrapped her in a cloth. She fed her sugar water from a gourd because her mother refused to nurse. "Let her cry," her mother said. "She will learn that crying gets her nothing." Part 2, the first year. At 3 months, she learned that her voice did not bring comfort. She cried. Her mother left her in the corner of the hut, on a mat that smelled of mildew and old goat milk. She cried until her throat was raw, until her voice gave out, until she learned that no one was coming. At 6 months, her father tried to hold her. "Let me see her," he said. His hands were rough from work. He picked her up. She was so small, so soft. He looked at her face, at his own eyes staring back at him. "She looks like me," he said. "She looks like everyone you've wronged," her mother said. He put her down. He never held her again. At 9 months, she learned to crawl. She was slow, clumsy, her belly dragging against the ground. She crawled toward her mother once, reaching for the warmth that never came. Her mother kicked her, lightly, but enough to send her tumbling backward. "Go away," her mother said. "You are the reminder, you are the shame." At 12 months, she learned to walk. She wobbled across the hut, her arms outstretched, seeking someone to hold. No one caught her. She fell. Part 3, the early years. At 4 years old, she learned that food was a weapon. Her mother cooked for her father. She cooked for her brothers, the ones who came later, the ones her mother loved. For her, there was only what was left. One night, she was so hungry that she reached for a handful of ugali from the pot. Her mother's hand struck so fast she didn't see it coming. "Thief," her mother screamed. "You are a thief just like your father." She was locked outside. She slept in the goat pen that night, curled against the warm bodies of the animals, their smell filling her nose. She did not cry. She had learned not to. At 5, her mother beat her for the first time, really beat her with a stick until her back was striped with welts. "Why?" her mother screamed. "Why do you look like him? Why do you remind me?" She didn't answer. She had learned that answers made it worse. At 6, she started school. The other children were clean. She was not. They had lunches. She did not. They laughed. She watched. A teacher asked her one day, "What is your favorite food?" She could not remember having a favorite. She had only eaten what was left, and that was never enough. "I like bread," she said finally. It was a lie. She had never tasted bread. But it was a safe answer, a normal answer. "Bread is good," the teacher said and moved on. Part 4, the silence settles. At 8, she stopped speaking to her mother. Not out of rebellion. She was too tired for rebellion. It simply became easier to not speak. Her mother hated her voice, hated the questions she used to ask, hated the way she once had too much to say. So she said nothing. She did her chores silently. She swept, she fetched water, she collected firewood. When her mother demanded something, she nodded. When her mother insulted her, she stared at the ground. One day, her mother said, "You are like a ghost that eats my food and takes up space." She did not respond. She did not feel anything. That night, she lay on her mat and stared at the ceiling. She counted the cracks in the thatch. She listened to the sounds of the night, the goats bleating, the wind in the trees, her mother's voice in the next room, laughing with her father. "I am the only one who is not laughing," she thought. "I am the only one who is not smiling." She did not cry. She had forgotten how. Part 5, the exhaustion DEPNS. At 10, she stopped feeling pain. Not physical pain, she still felt that. Her mother's beatings still hurt. The hunger still gnawed at her stomach. The cold still bit her skin. But the other kind of pain, the ache in her chest, the hollow emptiness that used to make her weep at night, that was gone. In its place was only exhaustion. She would wake in the morning and lie still for a long time, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of her body pressing down into the mat. She had to move. She had to get up. She had to do the chores. But moving felt impossible, like wading through water, like dragging a mountain. "Why are you so slow?" her mother would scream. "Why are you always dragging your feet?" She would move faster. She would do the chores. She would do them well. But the exhaustion remained, a dull, heavy blanket that pressed on her shoulders. At 11, she started looking for ways to escape. Not death, not exactly, but a way to stop existing. She would lie on her mat and imagine herself dissolving into the air. She would imagine floating away, leaving her body behind, becoming something formless and weightless. It was not sadness. It was not anger. It was just nothing. A great, vast emptiness where her feelings used to be. Part 6, the schoolyard. At 12, she entered secondary school. She was chubby, quiet, invisible. The other children noticed her, the girl who never spoke, who ate alone, who wore clothes that didn't fit. They noticed her body first, the roundness, the softness, the way she seemed to take up too much space. "Look at that one," a boy said. "She takes up the whole bench." "The whole village," another added. She had heard worse. She said nothing. A girl approached her one day, a confident, sharp-eyed girl named Kemunto. "Why are you always alone?" Kemunto asked. "I don't know." "Don't you have friends?" "I don't know." "That's sad." She shrugged. She couldn't explain that friendships required energy she didn't have, that being around people required a performance she couldn't sustain, that she was too tired, too empty, too hollow to pretend. Kemunto walked away. She did not try again. Part 7, the first boy. At 15, a boy named Amandi noticed her. She was fetching water at the river. He was washing his hands nearby. He looked at her, really looked, and something in his eyes softened. "Hey," he said, "you're the quiet one, right?" She nodded. "That's okay," he said. "I talk too much. Maybe we balance each other." He walked her home. He talked about his family, his friends, his dreams. She listened. She didn't speak much. She had forgotten how to tell people about herself. They started walking together every day. He would meet her at the river, walk her home, and talk all the way. For a while, she felt something, a small flicker, like a match being struck in the dark. Then he kissed her, rough, demanding, before she was ready. She didn't stop him. She had learned that she didn't have the right to stop people. "What's wrong?" he asked, pulling back. "Nothing." "You're quiet." "I'm always quiet." He seemed frustrated. "I'm trying to show you I care. The least you could do is respond." She wanted to respond. She wanted to feel the way he expected her to feel. But the exhaustion was always there, pressing down on her chest. She stopped seeing him. It was easier. Easier to be alone. Easier to be invisible. Part 8, the collapse. At 17, she collapsed. It happened at school. She was walking across the courtyard, just walking, one foot in front of the other, and suddenly her legs gave way. She fell to the ground. She could not get up. "Are you sick?" a teacher asked. "No," she said, "just tired." "You need to see a doctor." She saw the village healer, the same old woman who had helped others, the one with the kind eyes. The healer looked at her. She took her hands. She studied her face. "Child," she said, "when did you stop feeling?" She started to cry. It was the first time in years. The healer held her. She let her cry. "Your body is tired because your heart is tired," the healer said. "You have been carrying too much for too long. You need to put some of it down." "I don't know how," she sobbed. "I don't know how to put it down." "You start," the healer said, "by saying it out loud. Tell me the truth. Tell me everything." And she did. She told the healer about the birth, the abandonment, the beatings, the hunger, the loneliness, the exhaustion. She told her about the silence, the invisibility, the numbness. She told her about the boy who kissed her too hard, the girl who walked away, the mother who hated her. She told her about the weight, the constant, crushing weight of being alive. All my life, she said, I have been told that I am too much, but I think I am not enough. I am not enough to be loved. I am not enough to be wanted. I am not enough to matter. The healer took her face in her hands. You are enough, she said. You have always been enough. The people who should have loved you failed you. That is their failure, not yours. She wasn't sure she believed it, but for the first time, she could imagine believing it. Part 9. The slow rebuild. She started small. 1 foot in front of the other. That was all. The healer gave her a journal. Write one thing every day, she said. Anything, a feeling, a thought, a memory, even if it's just I am tired. She wrote, Day 1, I am tired. Day 2, I am still tired. Day 3, I saw a flower today. It was yellow. I thought about picking it. I didn't. Day 4, I talked to the healer again. I felt something. Day 5, I remembered my mother's face. It hurt, but I didn't disappear. Slowly, the numbness began to crack. Pain seeped through the cracks, raw, sharp, excruciating. She had spent so long feeling nothing that the return of feeling was overwhelming. But she kept going. 1 foot in front of the other. Part 10. The turning point. At 18, she left her mother's home. It was not dramatic. She simply gathered her few possessions, a change of clothes, the journal, a single stone she had found by the river, and walked away. Where are you going? Her mother demanded. Somewhere else. Come back here. No. It was the first time she had ever refused. Her voice shook, but she did not turn around. She walked to the city. She found work as a servant in a wealthy household. It was not easy work, but it was paid, and she was fed. She started saving money. She started dreaming, not big dreams, but small ones, a room of her own, a bed with blankets, a meal she cooked for herself. Part 11. The healing. At 22, she saw a therapist. It was expensive. It was terrifying. It was the best decision of her life. Tell me about your childhood, the therapist said. She did. It took weeks, months, but slowly she began to understand. Your mother's hatred was not about you, the therapist said. It was about her pain, her betrayal, her shame. She projected it onto you because you were defenseless. That was wrong. That was cruelty, but it was not your fault. She wept. She wept until she had no tears left. Why did she make me feel like I was too much? She asked. Because she couldn't face her own feelings. You were a reminder of what she had lost. She couldn't love you because she couldn't love herself. And my father. Your father was weak. He should have protected you. He failed you. That is on him, not on you. Part 12. The new life. At 25, she wrote a letter to her mother. She never sent it. Dear Mama, I don't know if you ever loved me. I used to think you couldn't. Now I think maybe you didn't know how. Maybe love was something you never learned. I have learned. It has been hard, but I am learning. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, because I deserve peace. I am not the reminder of your betrayal. I am just me, a woman who survived, a woman who is learning to feel again. I hope you find peace too. Your daughter. Ashino. Epilogue, 1 foot in front of the other. She never went back to her mother. She built a life, a small life, a quiet life, but a life of her own. She had friends. She had a job. She had a cat that slept on her feet. Some days the exhaustion returned. Some days she would wake up and feel the weight pressing down, and she would think, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. But then she would remember. 1 foot in front of the other. That was all she had ever needed to do. She would get up, she would make tea. She would go to work, she would come home. She would write in her journal. And slowly, the weight would lift. Not entirely, not forever, but enough. Enough to live.